Okay, looks like we'll get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Dryden Rainbow, and I am an associate registrar in the Innis College Registrar's office. I'm excited to be here today to chat with you about Rotman Commerce and selecting your courses. We're a pretty small group, so I'm going to try and keep it informal. I'm going to pause throughout the presentation to hopefully answer questions if you post them in the chat, but hopefully we'll have some time at the end as well. Just some housekeeping. So today's session is being recorded. So just something to be aware as you're posting questions or if you do unmute yourself. In addition, closed captioning has been enabled. So if you do find that's useful, at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to enable that. As I mentioned, my name is Dryden Rainbow. You can direct message me if you have questions, or you should be able to post them for my colleague Daniela, who is also going to be posting links today throughout the session. At the end, again, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, you can, but I would ask that you stay muted throughout the presentation, just so that it's not, distracting to anyone else with background noise. So my name is Dryden Rainbow. Again, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an associate registrar, but my specific portfolio is academic engagement. You might ask yourself, what exactly does that mean? So academic engagement is kind of a broad term. What I do primarily is work one-on-one with students. So I'll do one-on-one appointments, oftentimes with upper year students, but I do also meet with first year students, especially as they start to think about what their long-term goals are. Sorry, 1 second, team. Daniela, are you?
Yeah,
You can't see
sorry.
the
No,
chat?
I meant to send that to IT. So I don't actually know if I'm going to be able to share links. So just for the people in the room, we're going to try to get that figured out, and maybe you'll see links. And if not, everything is available on the Quarkus as well. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. That is Daniela for everyone. Again, fun group here. So as I was saying, I sometimes meet directly with students, sometimes first years as they're thinking about their long-term goals. But as you heard from the principal and as you heard from Donald, there's a lot of resources here at the University of Toronto, a lot of experiences, a lot of opportunities. You might need help navigating some of those opportunities, and that's one of the things I do. I connect students with resources and kind of help make a long-term plan. I do this through one-on-one appointments. We also run different events throughout the year. I also run our newsletter, so you will be getting a monthly newsletter. You've likely already started to get email correspondence directly from Denise. And as Donald mentioned, I also run our Instagram account to try and keep students in the loop about as many opportunities as possible. But as promised, today is about Rotman Commerce and how to select your courses. So let's dig into that. So on the agenda today, we're going to start pretty broadly. We're going to talk about what Rotman Commerce is and some of the different programs available to you. We're then going to dig into what are your required courses, what are the courses you maybe want to take, and how to actually start building a timetable. We'll talk about some of the tools available to you. Some of them have already been mentioned by Denise in earlier sessions. And then we're going to do a live demo of actually building a timetable so that you kind of feel that you have the necessary preparation to do it for yourself when you need to choose courses on July 18th. Okay, so first things first, about Rotman Commerce. So Rotman Commerce is a unique kind of position within the Faculty of Arts and Science. As students admitted to the Rotman Commerce stream in your first year, you have unique access to the Faculty of Arts and Science. So Donald talked about this in more detail. It's a huge faculty, is in fact the largest faculty in Canada. It's got tons of programs, tons of courses, and lots of support. So you have access to all of that. But then you also have access to supports through Rotman Commerce, which is part of the Rotman School of Management. So you'll have access to unique courses that other students aren't able to take, but you'll also have access to Rotman Commerce advisors to help you navigate in your first year. This is kind of a unique position. Most students aren't aware of what their programs will be until after they've completed their first year. And while you won't formally be entering your program until the end of first year, you do still have that support throughout first year to help you if you run into any issues. As you continue throughout your degree, you'll have unique access to programming, alumni events, internships, study abroad opportunities. So it does kind of occupy a unique space on campus. I will also say from my personal experience, Rotman Commerce has one of my favorite buildings directly in the middle of the St. George campus. So it's a really lovely space to explore. They've got a beautiful lookout that looks out at the Toronto skyline, and you can often find the Innis College team there at lunch eating at the Exchange, which is kind of their food hall or their dining space. Okay, so as Denise mentioned in her presentation, there is a slight difference between a Bachelor of Commerce and a Bachelor or an Honors Bachelor of Arts in Science. She went through kind of all of these degree requirements in more detail in her presentation, but she did note that when it comes to programs, that's where you'll see the primary difference. So as students who are presumably wanting to pursue a Bachelor of Commerce, you have very specific program requirements that you need to complete. So you need to complete either a specialist in management, finance and economics, or an accounting specialist. We're going to talk about this in more detail in just a second, but all your other requirements remain the same. So you still need 20 credits, 6 at the senior level, you need a CGPA of a 1.85, and you still do need to complete those breadth requirements. Before we dig into the specific programs, because this was a little bit different than what Denise presented, does anyone have questions related to the degree requirements for the Bachelor of Commerce? Okay, not seeing any. I'll continue on. If any questions do come up, feel free to post them in the chat. So just want to share a little bit about the programs available within the Rotman Commerce stream. So students can pursue either a specialist in accounting, finance and economics, or management. You might already be really familiar with these programs, but I just want to touch on them briefly. You are not expected to know what program you want to go to just yet. That is what your first year is meant to do, give you time to explore your different options. So a specialist in accounting is really meant for students who want to get their CPA designation or do graduate level studies in accounting. It's very specifically tailored towards that goal. A specialist in finance and economics is meant to give you senior level knowledge, a deep understanding of both finance and economics, both through theory and kind of practical applications. Finally, the specialist in management is the broadest of the specialists. It gives students kind of the most flexibility to determine what upper year courses make sense for you and your long-term goals. Now, in addition to content, there's also differences between the 3 specialists in terms of credit counts. Now, as you hopefully remember from Denise's presentation, in order to complete your degree, you need 20 credits. For a specialist in accounting, that's going to take up 15 and a half of those 20 credits. For a specialist in management, that's going to take up 12 and a half credits. The reason I note this isn't to dissuade or motivate you to go one way or the other. It's just to make you aware of how much your program's going to take up of your time. If you're sitting here thinking, ooh, I also want to do a minor in another area, you might now be looking at accounting and saying, ooh, that's going to be really tight to fit into my 20 credits, especially considering you also need to do breadth requirements. So this is just something to have on your radar as you're starting to look through your first year courses and your long-term goals and what you might want to be taking. There is though a lot of flexibility. As I mentioned, you might want to add in a program in a different area. There's also specific focuses within Rotman Commerce. So all students within Rotman Commerce have access to 2 different focuses, one of which is data science and business. Now, focuses give you kind of a unique expertise in a specific area. So it's kind of a cluster of electives that give you specific credential that you will see on your record. It's not a formal program considered a focus. Management has the option of 8 focuses. So again, when I talk about that breadth and flexibility being unique to the management specialist, this is one of the things we need, is having access to those unique focuses. So you might want to do a focus in finance, for example. Most focuses are 2.5 credits, although one of them is 3 credits. So just again, to be aware of when you're planning. As Denise mentioned, this one specialist is a minimum requirement. You might want to go above and beyond that. So you might be considering maybe adding a minor. In some cases, if you're doing, the specialist in management, you might be able to get the economics minor, for example, by not really changing your plan all that much. You might also be interested in pursuing one of the other programs available in the Faculty of Arts and Science. For here, I've added the minor in Writing and Rhetoric. So Writing and Rhetoric is a program here at Innis College. And maybe you're interested in finance and economics, but you really also want to work on your professional writing skills. In which case, the minor in Writing and Rhetoric, a smaller program right here at Innis, might give you a unique opportunity to work on those skills, but also be another way in which you're building community on campus. Now, you might be sitting here saying, okay, I have no idea what programs I want to do. I haven't made this decision yet. That's totally okay. You do not need to know which program you're going into. I just want to flag it because it will inform potentially some of the courses you want to take in first year. Speaking of your first year courses, let's dig into those. So as students admitted to the Rotman Commerce stream, you have very specific courses you are required to take as Rotman Commerce student in order to meet your guarantee. We'll talk about the guarantee a little bit more in just 1 second. But here are your courses. It equals 2.5 credits. So RSM 100, Eco 101, Eco 102, and Math 133. So we can dig into each one of these in turn. First up is RSM 100. So this is Introduction to Management, and it's really your first introduction into the Rotman Commerce courses. RSM is one of the course codes that's unique for students taking Rotman Commerce courses. In order to meet your guarantees in this course, you need to obtain a mark of 67%. It is offered in both the fall term, so that's September to December, and the winter term, which is January to April. When I'm speaking to students, I recommend taking it in the fall term. That way, if something happens and life happens, different things come up. If you need to retake it or drop it and do it in another session, you still have that winter term to take the course if necessary. Next up is Eco 101 and 102, so Principles of Micro and Macroeconomics. So in these two courses, you need to get 63% in each. You can't average those two, so you couldn't get 60 in one and 66 in another. You need to get 63 in Eco 101 and Eco 102. Now, Eco 101 is a prerequisite for Eco 102. So in my personal opinion, and the way you should be doing it is you should do Eco 101 in the F term or in the fall, and Eco 102 in the winter term. Now, there are specific sections of Eco 101 and 102 that are protected for Rotman Commerce students, but you will see lots of students in first year taking economics. It's very popular if students are pursuing economics, but international relations, public policy, even political science. It is a very popular first year course, so there's a lot of community around this course. Last, but certainly not least, is your Math 133, Calculus and Linear Algebra for Commerce. In this course, you need to obtain a mark of 63% to meet your guarantee. As you'll notice, this is a unique course when compared to the others, as it is a wide course. So it will span all the way from September until April. Now, say for most students pursuing a Rotman Commerce specialist, Math 133 does the trick. However, you can see that there are alternatives that you can take if you're looking to pursue maybe additional programs. So Math 135 and 136 are oftentimes the courses we see that life students enroll in. If you're looking to take 200 level math or computer science courses, Math 137 is often the course students enroll in. And then there's Math 157, which I'll say we don't often see students enroll in if Rotman Commerce programs are their goal. If you think Math 133 will do the trick for you, I always say, don't make your life harder than it needs to be. That's the course you can enroll in. But of course, if you have other goals alongside that and you think one of the other courses is more appropriate, you can always chat with us about that. But you might already know what your long-term goals are in terms of a specific program. As you can see, the grade required in courses does change depending if you take one of the alternatives. So you need 60% in both Math 135 and 136 if you're going to go that route. 55% if you're looking at Math 137. So these courses all together make up the Rotman Commerce Guarantee. If you want to follow a link to learn more about this, Daniela has posted one. So you have your required courses, 2.5 credits, but you do need to accumulate a minimum of 4 credits in order to move into programs. We're going to talk about how you get to those 4 credits in just a second. You also have 1 year to meet the requirements. So you need to do so by the end of August 2025. However, my recommendation, plan to meet your requirements by April 2025 so that you're setting yourself up for success next summer when you're enrolling in programs and enrolling in courses. As I mentioned before, you're in a unique position to get support both from our office and Rotman Commerce. So if you run into any issues along the way, I do recommend chatting with the Rotman Commerce advisors to chat about your guarantee if you think there's any problems that you're going to encounter in meeting that 1 year deadline. Okay. Beyond your required courses, there's also recommended first year courses. Now, there are courses that you're recommended to take in your first year, but you'll notice that they're all actually 200 level courses. So they won't actually contribute to that 100 level 7 credits that we recommend that Denise mentioned. There's RSM 219, Introduction to Financial Accounting, RSM 230, Financial Markets, and RSM 250, Principles of Marketing. All these courses are going to be a required part of your degree, so we recommend taking them in your first year, but you can also take them in the summer before second year, or even during your second year, depending on what your timetable looks like. Each of these courses, though, is meant to give you an opportunity to learn more about the three specialists. So if you're sitting here and you're like, ooh, I have no idea what I want to do in terms of my program, I'm looking to explore, I would recommend taking all. If you're a little bit more certain, or you're dividing between two and you actually need extra room for electives, then this is one of the areas where you can make a change. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to take RSM 250 next year. All these courses are offered in both the F and S term, giving you a lot of flexibility to build a timetable that works for you. If anyone's following along on the math, we have 2.5 required courses and 1.5 recommended courses. This gets us to 4. Now you can take 4 courses in your first year and meet your Rotman Commerce guarantee, and that is still considered full-time. So you could technically stop there if you wanted to. However, if your plan is to do a 4-year degree, oftentimes students are taking 5 courses per year. So based on the math, that leaves us 1 credit to use as an elective. How do you decide how to use that 1 credit? So there's a couple different things to consider. One, you can explore your different areas of interest. Maybe you really want to work internationally and it's important for you to learn a language. Maybe you say, I want to end up in Frankfurt, I'm going to start to learn German. The first year German requirement, that's 1 credit, that can count as your elective. Maybe you're interested in a different type of program, or maybe you've always really wanted to dig into a specific area, but it wasn't available at your high school. You can also consider completing your breadth requirements. Again, these don't need to be done in first year, but you can consider taking 1 or even 2 courses related to a different area, just to give yourself a breather from your Rotman Commerce courses. And of course, you can look into special opportunities. So specifically the first year foundation seminars and the first year foundations 1s program. Charlie mentioned these, or Professor Kyle, in his opening presentation, just to give a little bit more detail for those of you who may be considering them. First up is the first year foundation seminars. We have 12 available next year that are given special permission to Rotman Commerce students, or sorry, to Innis College students. So you'll have a good opportunity to enroll in these courses if you're interested. They are capped at 25 students, so it's really important for you to have a small class environment. A first year foundation seminar is a good option. In my first year, I took the poetry of physics and the physics of poetry. There were 15 of us, and I'm still very good friends with someone I met in that class. We still chat all the time. So it is a good way to build community and be in a smaller class environment. Similarly, the first year foundations 1s program, some of them have a previous application, and I've spoken to Rotman Commerce students who are pursuing maybe Vic 1, Trin 1, Monk 1 that do have application you needed to submit. If this is something you're navigating of how to make all your credits work together, again, you can connect with us and we're happy to help you through that. But some of them you can enroll in on the day of course enrollment. So that includes Innis 1, the Creative City. There's 4 half credits to choose from. And similar to the first year foundations, they are small class sizes, but the 1s program often includes co-curricular events as well as experiential learning. So this is just to show you that there are some unique opportunities when you're looking at building your schedule, especially depending on your unique values. It might be that you want small class learning. It might be that you want to do a language course. With that elective course, you really have a lot of flexibility. The final thing I'll mention on this front is the first year learning community, or FLICs. As a Rotman Commerce student, you will be automatically enrolled into a FLIC. Basically what a FLIC is it's not a course. It is a program that is meant to arm you with additional skills to succeed in your first year and build community. So they'll bring in speakers, upper years, they'll talk about different opportunities available to you. There's no homework. It's a very low key, low stress environment, but it is meant to help you develop skills and build community over the long run. You might be in a FLIC with students from Innis College, but also from the other 7 colleges as well. Even though it's not for credit and it's not meant to be something that's stressful, you will receive a notation on your academic record once you complete it. And for Rotman students, you'll be automatically added to it. So if one day you log in and you see RSN 099 on your record, don't panic. That is the system functioning exactly as it should. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone over programs, and we've talked about courses, we're actually going to start to go into the tools and building your timetable. So I'm going to do just a check of the room. This is a course code refresher. Denise talked about course codes in a lot of detail, talking about the first three letters, how they represent the department, the level, weight, even what location their courses are being offered in. Does anyone have questions related to course codes, or any questions or misunderstandings about them before we move forward? Okay, looking like no questions. I'm going to assume everyone feels confident on this front and keep going here. Perfect. So once you have a sense of the courses you want to take, and we've already talked a lot about what those courses are, one of the things you might want to do is go to the calendar and read a course description. So here I'm going to use Math 133 as our example. So on the calendar description, for a course, you should see, of course, the description of what it looks like. You should see any necessary prerequisites. So in this case, the prerequisite is high school level calculus. If you're admitted to Rutland Commerce, you had to have this in order to get into the program, so it should be an issue. Next, you'll see an exclusion. An exclusion is basically when you can't take another course because it has similar content to the one you want to enroll in. So in this case, Math 133 Y1, offered by the Faculty of Arts and Science, has a listed exclusion of Math 133 Y5. That is a very similar course offered by the University of Toronto, Mississauga. So you couldn't take both these courses and get credit for both. Make sure to pay attention to exclusions, especially as you move throughout your degree, as it will impact potentially your ability to complete 20 credits. Basically, you want to avoid exclusions at all costs. In some cases, you might also see a co-requisite. This is basically a course you need to take alongside another one in order to have the preparation, I'll say, to succeed in both. Oftentimes you won't see a co-requisite in first year courses, although sometimes it just depends on the area you're looking. But again, especially as you're moving into upper year courses, make sure to keep a keen eye for co-requisites. And finally, you'll see the breadth requirement. So here we can see that Math 133 has a breadth requirement 5. So thinking back to Denise's presentation and the breadth requirements, the courses you take towards your program can also count towards your breadth requirements. So by taking Math 133, which you have to do, you've already met BR5, and you don't need to worry about it for your degree requirements either. So this is on the calendar, reading a course description, but this information is going to look a little bit different in the timetable builder. Daniela has shared a link to the timetable builder. This is where you're going to see information relevant for this upcoming session. So again, I've pulled up Math 133 here, and you can see that there's some slightly different information. You can see what term a course is being offered in. So here, Math 133 Y1Y, since it's a Y course, it's being offered in both the F and S term across the entire academic year. You can also see that there are special instructions for enrolling. So you can see that based on the lecture a student enrolls in, there's specific guidelines that dictate what tutorial you have to enroll in. When you're looking at a course on the timetable builder, you'll see they always have a lecture section. So you always need to enroll in the lecture, but they may also have a tutorial or a practical that are also mandatory that you enroll in. It might be that you have a 2-hour lecture and a 1-hour tutorial. It just depends on the nature of the course. We'll talk about this a little bit more when we do a live demo. You can also see the specific day and time. In this case, the one we're looking at is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So you might actually have the same course offered multiple times throughout the week with several different lectures that you have to attend. You can see the instructor. In this case, it's TBA. Don't panic. It doesn't mean the course isn't going to be taught. It just means that they haven't put that information and made it available for students yet. You can see the space. So this course in this lecture section has the availability of 144 students. However, let's say you are 145 to enroll in this course, you would be the first student on a wait list. We'll talk a little bit more about wait lists a little bit later on in the presentation. Some courses have wait lists, some do not. Most do. So make sure to pay close attention to both these things as you're enrolling in courses. Next, you'll see the delivery method. A lot of courses are going to be offered in person. I'll say that the university has largely moved back to in-person courses, and even if a course is online, it often will have an in-person component, such as your assessments or final exam. If you see courses that are offered online, maybe asynchronous or synchronous, really pay close attention to the type of learner you are. Do you learn well in an online environment? For some students, yes, they found a lot of success learning online. For some students, absolutely not. They need the community, they need the accountability. So use the summer to think about the type of learner you are. If you're given the option to enroll in an in-person or an online version, just making sure you're making an informed decision about what you'll best succeed in. Next up, you can see that there are enrollment controls, priority. So we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail. Enrollment controls are basically things that are built into courses to protect them for certain students at certain times to enroll in them. As first-year students, you're going to see priority given to you for certain courses so that you have priority to enroll in them over other students from other years. Because first-year students choose their courses last, they don't want fourth-year students, for example, enrolling in the courses you need as prerequisites in first year. I'll say most often, priority controls are meant to protect courses and work in your benefit. In the case of Rotman Commerce courses, you might also see that some courses are restricted at all times for you. Again, this is one of the benefits of being admitted to the Rotman Commerce stream is that you have that protection of your courses where other students can't enroll in them. Now, you've probably heard the date thrown around a lot of July 18th is when you'll be enrolling in courses. This is actually your priority enrollment date. So this is the date that you'll have where you can enroll in courses for which you have priority. So all of your required courses, all of your recommended courses. But as you're going through, you might actually notice that some of the courses have a priority that isn't for you. It doesn't actually include you. One example would be maybe Bio 120. It has a priority for specific life science students, but you might be thinking, I actually really want to take Bio 120. In which case you need to wait for general enrollment. And that's going to start July 26th. So just something to be aware of as you're building your schedule. Just because you don't have a priority for a course doesn't mean you can't take it. It just means that you're going to have to bookmark time to enroll in it at a later date once general enrollment opens. Now, I know this piece can be a little bit confusing. Does anyone have questions about enrollment controls while we're on this page? Okay, not seeing any, so I'm going to keep moving here. Okay, so we're just about to dig in to doing kind of a live demo. Just some things to ask yourself, and we've largely covered these already. Does the course have a lecture, tutorial, or practical? Again, each course has a lecture, but also many of them have a mandatory tutorial and practical. If it lists a lecture, of course, enroll in it, but if it lists a tutorial, make sure you're also enrolling in the appropriate tutorial. As you saw in the Math 133 example, it might be that if you enroll in one lecture, you need to enroll in a specific type of tutorial. Make sure you're paying close attention to those details when you're looking at your timetable. Does the course conflict with something else? The system will not automatically check for conflicts, but you absolutely should. You, of course, if you have a conflict, won't be able to attend both lectures, but you also run into issues with assessments, exams, things like that. So make sure that you're building kind of backup timetables to avoid any conflicts that might come up. Again, how's the course being offered? Are there multiple delivery modes, and what works best for you? And finally, where is the course located? So this information will be on Acorn when you're enrolling in courses. In most cases, it's not available yet. But just to give you a sense, so on screen, you should be able to see a map of the St. George campus with 2 green lines. We have a very large campus, and hypothetically, you should be able to get from one end of campus to the other in 10 minutes. What I will say is this is a best case scenario. Oftentimes it does take longer than that. So if you're taking a course on the west end, so that's everything located on the left, and that's where Innis College is located, then you can usually get within that quadrant within 10 minutes. So if you're taking a course, let's say you're taking an Innis Foundations course or an Innis 1 course that's offered directly at Innis, then you should probably be able to get to Sydney Smith, which is the heart of the Faculty of Arts and Science that's located in the same quadrant. However, you might have difficulty getting directly from Innis College to Alumni Hall, which is located all the way on the east and south end of campus. So if you are building a timetable and you have courses that are back to back, just something to be aware of. Once location details come out, it might mean you want to switch a tutorial section or something like that. It's not to say it's impossible to navigate between these courses in 10 minutes. It just can be difficult, especially during the winter months when there's snow. Personally, I'm a cyclist, so I did bike between my classes. Sometimes there's unique solutions, but just something to be aware of when we are dealing with such a large campus. Okay, we're almost at actually going into the timetable, but I just want to do a refresher. So we'll say fall, winter a lot. When we say fall, winter, we mean a course that's covering from September all the way to April. When we talk about fall, we're talking about September to December. We're talking about winter, we're talking about January to April. Now, this is my potential schedule that I've built. I have in light blue all of my required courses. In the darker blue, I have all of my recommended courses. And then I've opted for 2 electives. So Innis 106, which is part of the ONES, the Creative City programming, and Stats 198, which is one of the courses, the first year foundations courses specifically for Innis college students. So this is what my potential timetable looks like. Yours might look completely different. Again, maybe you have a language course in there. Maybe you're taking Psych 100, it's really interested in psychology. But this is kind of to give you an example of what a potential one looks like. Okay, so let's actually go in and look at some of these courses. Okay, so this is the timetable builder. The timetable builder is used across all of the faculties in the University of Toronto. So you have to actually go in and select Faculty of Arts and Science as your faculty or division. Now we're currently in the summer session, so it is defaulting to the summer. What you want to do is go in here, click, and as you can see, fall, winter, 2024, 2025. From here, we have a couple different options. You can go in and directly write a course code. You can go by department, or you can even go show more filters and you see a bunch of different options. You can select delivery mode. Maybe you have a time preference. Maybe you're like, I am not successful before noon. What is offered in the afternoon? And you can explicitly pick that. What I'm going to do for the first little ones here is actually put in the explicit course code I want to look at. So easy breezy, starting with Math 133 here. I'm going to search and one course comes up. This should look very familiar to you because we just went over this. So we can see the term, the special instructions, time, instructor, availability, in-person, enrollment controls. But what we can actually do on the timetable builder is pick one that works for us. Now, in this case, there's lots of different lectures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the one that works best for my schedule. So 9 a.m., little early. 10 a.m. works for me. So I'm going to actually add it to my timetable, and it's building a timetable over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. I can see that there's lots of lectures, but I can see that there's also tutorials, in which case I need to enroll in one of each. So I have the lecture, and I can see some are grayed out because it's not available, but I can see lots of them are available. So I'm going to add this one to my timetable. Okay, so that's me done with Math 133. I've got a lecture, I've got a tutorial, I feel good about it. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go RSM 100. Now again, I can see it's offered in the F and S term, but I do recommend enrolling in the F term. So I'm going to put F term here, hit search, and again, there's one option. Now in this case, we haven't seen this one before. A lot of the same information. Here we can see the enrollment control is restricted though, and it's open to students in year 1 of the Faculty of Arts and Science Commerce. So that's you. So you actually have the priority control and the restriction working for you in this case. If you wanted to learn more about this course, you could also select more course information here and see there's exclusions listed for this one. There's a description. And again, we can see the breadth requirement. This is a BR. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this first one. You know what? 11 o'clock seems good to me. I'm going to add that to my timetable. Okay, so I feel good about these courses. Next, we've got our economics courses to look at. This time, instead of going directly by a course, I'm going to actually search by department. So I'm going to go to Department of Economics, search. Okay, I brought up 100 courses. That's too many. So I'm going to actually further narrow by 100 level courses and search again. 7. So if you ever get overwhelmed by the options available on the timetable builder, you can narrow your focus down to make it a little bit more digestible. In this case, here I'm seeing Eco 101F at the top of the list. I recommend taking this one in the F term, again, because it's a prerequisite for Eco 102. So I'm going to click on it. Again, I can see that there's special instructions for this course, much like Math 133. So I'm going to scroll down, and here I can see some of the different lecture sections have different enrollment controls. So for 101, I can see it is very specific in what they're asking for. They're saying no students in year one in the Faculty of Arts and Science Commerce. And if I go down to the next one, I can see that this course is restricted at all times explicitly for students in commerce. So I'm going to look at lecture 201 here and add it to my timetable because it's specifically for students enrolled in commerce. Similarly, I'm going to go down, look at the tutorials. I'm going to add one to my timetable. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to minimize Eco 101, and now I'm looking for Eco 102. So there it is, but it has F. We don't want that one. What we're looking for is Eco 102 in the S term, because by the time we complete Eco 101 in the fall, we'll have met the prerequisite and be good to start this course in January. So similarly, we can see specific enrollment controls. Again, I'm going to go for R1. I'm going to add this to my timetable. I'm going to scroll down and pick the appropriate tutorial. So I've picked all my required courses. I feel good about it. I want to actually see my timetable. So here I can see a timetable based on all the courses I've enrolled in. So it's looking pretty good. I have no conflicts. I've got courses back to back, so I'm aware of that. But I can always switch if I need to later on if there's space available. As I scroll down, I can see, okay, yeah, the winter term's looking good too. So, oh, and I can actually say that there are some locations located here. So BT, and you'll be able to see that on Acorn, more information about where this course will explicitly be offered. Okay, so I can hide this again, and then let's say I want to add some of my recommended courses now. I can get rid of economics. I can even get rid of 100, because remember those recommended courses are all at the 200 level, and I'm going to put in RSM 219. Now, in this case, I already have, let's say I want to balance my schedule. I already have 3 courses technically that I'm taking in the F term. So maybe I'm explicitly looking in the S term now. So I'm going to search. It's going to bring up one course. Okay, so here again, I can see these are restricted, and maybe I'm looking at, again, lecture 201, and I can add this to my timetable. Now, you'll notice on here that this has actually brought up a conflict with Math 133, lecture 201. And I'm like, ooh, okay. Again, remember, we want to avoid conflicts. In this case, I can remove this from my timetable and go to look at a different lecture time. So I'm going to maybe add this course instead. Looks like there's no conflict with lecture 5101, Mondays in the evening. I'm okay taking an evening class. But then remember, I also need to enroll in a tutorial. In this case, they're not giving me any special instructions. So I'm going to go add one that works for me. Maybe I'm thinking Fridays at noon. I'm going to go show timetable again. And now I have pretty balance between the 2 terms. You would keep doing this until you had reached the number of credits you want to take in first year. Again, you probably want to get to 4 credits to meet your Rotman Commerce guarantee. You can get up to 5. And then I recommend building in some backup options as well. Maybe this is one example of what my timetable will look like. I can then share or export this as a PDF just so I have a copy of it. Now, it's important to remember that you haven't actually formally enrolled in your courses yet. What you've done is build a timetable. To formally enroll in your courses, you're going to have to actually go on Acorn. So back to my presentation here. Hopefully this works. So if you haven't had a chance to enroll in Acorn yet, this is kind of a brief video showing you what it looks like. So you'll actually pick courses from the left-hand menu. Of course, this will look different for you. Instead of ASPRG-HMN1, you'll see ASPRG-COM1 for commerce. You'll then type in the course you're looking for, similar to how they're doing here with biology, but you'll add in maybe RSM 100, and you'll initially add things to your enrollment cart. This is a lot like online shopping. You haven't formally bought anything yet. You're adding it to your cart. When your enrollment time comes, you're going to want to formally enroll in each course, and that's what's going to secure your spot in a course. So first, you want to build a preliminary timetable using the timetable builder. Then you want to go onto Acorn, add the courses you're interested to your enrollment cart, and then on July 18th at your specific time, you want to go in and just hit enroll. There might be some hiccups along the way, but that is largely how you do it, and we'll talk a little bit about what some of those hiccups might be. So things to consider. Have backups in mind, including alternate lecture times and courses. As you saw, I came up against a conflict when I was building my schedule, but the one you really want, the course, especially if you're looking at, a first-year foundation seminar, they're capped at 25 students, you might actually be like, okay, I can't get into that one, I'm gonna pick an alternate. But that might conflict with something you already have. So make sure you're building backup schedules. If the course is at capacity, you can join the wait list. You'll be emailed once you make it off the wait list. Students are constantly changing their courses throughout July, August, and even into September for the fall term. A general guideline is that if you fall within 10% of the entire class, it's a good guide. So if the class is 100 students and you are number 10 as of August 1st, that's usually a pretty good place to be. If it's a class of 100 though, and you are number 25 on the wait list, that's something you should be a little bit more concerned about and be looking at potential options. You can waitlist up to 2 credits, but they do count towards your course load limit. So if you can enroll in 5 courses and you're waitlisted in, or 5 credits and you're waitlisted in 2 credits, you're really actually only securing 3 of those credits. So something, again, keep in mind, just depending, it's not the end of the world to be on the wait list, but depending on where you fall on the wait list and where we are in the school year, you might want to build in backup options. Acorn will not prevent you from enrolling in a course where you're missing a prereq, but departments will check and potentially remove you later. So make sure to be paying special attention to those prereqs. Make sure you have them, especially as you go into upper years. The amount of students I see removed from courses because they didn't realize they needed a prereq. It's a lot of students. Those prereqs are meant to support you, so meant to give you the best chance at success, so that you have the knowledge required to succeed. And you can make changes in your course enrollment up to a point. So there's going to be a lot of changes in July and August. For F, you can make changes into September. For your winter courses, you can actually make changes until January. Depending on your fee structure, there might be some complications with this. If you are looking to make a change to your schedule, you can always chat with us. We're always happy to chat about it in detail. Okay, we're getting to the end here. So just some upcoming dates to be aware of. On July 1st, you're gonna see your start time. So Faculty of Arts and Sciences, tons of students. Students are broken up into different days and have specific times. Again, you'll have priority for most of the courses you want to enroll in. So you'll have protected time in order to get the courses you want. July 18th is the first day of course enrollment during the priority period. July 26th is that general enrollment period. So if you do have a course you want to enroll in where you don't have priority, make sure to bookmark the 26th. Now, right now, you're all invited to enroll in your courses. In order to actually secure your spot in those courses, you need to convert your status from invited to registered. The deadline to do this is August 27th. There's a bunch of ways to do this, primarily through making a payment and paying your tuition. And there's also deferrals if you're getting financial aid through OSAP or federal province funding, or if you have a significant award. For more information about this, Danielle is going to be doing Money Matters a little bit later in the afternoon, and this is a great way to learn about how to trigger your registration and all the different resources available to you. And then don't forget the exciting stuff, classes begin September 3rd. So Daniela has posted the dates and deadlines. I recommend bookmarking this page. You'll go to it all the time. As I mentioned, you have a lot of support through our office. Things like today, you can meet for appointments. We're always kind of first point of contact. But as students admitted to the Rotman Commerce stream, you also have a lot of support through Rotman Commerce. So in terms of their upcoming events, on July 3rd, they have their course enrollment event. So if you wanted to do this, but with people from Rotman Commerce, you'd have that ability to do it all over again. They have Q&As on Mondays, and then also Arrive Ready. As incoming students, you've been automatically registered for Arrive Ready. This is really a transition program. So it's meant to give you kind of some grounding and some of the skills required to transition from your high school learning environment to a university learning environment. I do really recommend it. It's also a good way to build connections, learn about resources, different things around campus. You can learn more about all of these programs on the Rotman Commerce website, but they are good things to bookmark. Okay, speaking of resources, here are some of the links. This slideshow, this presentation will be posted online, so if you want to return to it later, I recommend as students that you create a new tab or a new folder in Chrome, Microsoft, Firefox, whatever you're using, and start bookmarking important U of T websites that you'll go to often. So the Rotman Commerce website, the calendar, the timetable, Quarkus, where Quarkus 101 is, where all of our important modules about learning how to set yourself up for success are hosted. But Quarkus is also what you'll use for all your other courses. A form which we've chatted about. So I recommend going through and bookmarking all of these. Two that we haven't chatted about, the first is Degree Explorer. This isn't a huge resource that you use in first year, but once you're actually admitted into your programs in second year, Degree Explorer will become your best friend. You don't need to use the calendar alone to build what your next 4 years will look like. Degree Explorer helps with that part, where it's actually coded to turn green if you've met a requirement, and it will be red if you're missing a requirement, and it can be really helpful. As you get further into your studies, maybe you're looking at March next year, again, you can book an appointment with us if you want to go through this resource in more detail. And then, of course, student accounts. Danielle is going to share way more links to student accounts later on in the day, but it is a good site to bookmark just so you have it available if you do have questions about your fees or tuition. If you have questions, you can always contact me at dryden.rainbow@utoronto.ca. I'm happy to answer them. But a good point of contact, especially if you just have a general question, is the registrar's office. So Jack answers emails, answers the phone. If you come in, that's who you'll see first. He is a whiz and an expert. He actually used to work at Rotman Commerce, so he's a really great contact. And you can contact our entire office at registrar.innis@utoronto.ca if you have a general question and you don't know who to connect with. We do have some time. If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute or post in the chat. I'm very happy to answer any questions you might have, similar with Daniela. Otherwise, you can go back to the main room in preparation for our next session after the break, Money Matters with Daniela. So if anyone has any questions, we're here until 12:15. Feel free to post them in the chat or to
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Like for the conditionals, it's like you need at least an 80 in English and calculus and vectors, and your overall top 6 average needs to be 84, right? So, yeah.
Are
So
you
if
an
yeah,
Ontario high school student?
yep.
Okay.
So if for example like the top 6 average is like above an 84, but like for example in English, if it's below an 80, do they take the offer away from you?
So when it comes to your offer of admission, what I would recommend doing is, just depending on your case, I would actually recommend reaching out directly, either to Rotman Commerce or the Faculty of Arts and Science. Our office is not responsible for clearing conditions. In the case of Rotman Commerce, they've given me like very specific cutoffs they want you to meet. If there's extenuating circumstances that impacted your ability to meet that cutoff, you can chat with them about, what happens next, but that should be a conversation with them because they're the ones who are actually clearing those conditions.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Again, feel free to just unmute if you.
I also have a little like thoughts on me. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I took the IBDP course in high school and I took the mathematics analysis and approaches
Okay.
the higher level. So I've seen that it can transfer the credit into the math 136 perhaps, right? And I wonder, does that mean that I could only take the math 135 like for half year? Like,
So what I would recommend doing is
uh-huh.
going to, so there's a specific chart on the Faculty of Arts and Science website. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just going to, yeah,
I've
just for
already
any
checked
others.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna see here, just for any students who might also follow this case. So for any students who this is relevant for, you can see the transfer credits for IB higher level courses. So you need to have, it needs to be a higher level course. So depending on the course it is, you can go and find it. And so you took mathematics AA, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the equivalent of math 136. So in this case, like for your Rotman Commerce guarantee, that's something you'd want to chat with them about in terms of meeting your guarantee. In this chart, it's saying that yes, it can be used towards program requirements. I am going
Yep.
to imagine that Rotman Commerce is going to want you to take 133 to meet your commerce guarantee, but that's a conversation you can have with them directly in terms of meeting that guarantee using other courses and to see if you're eligible to use one of their IB transfer credits for it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I know we're right
I
at
have a
time here,
similar
but yeah, I'm happy to answer. Keep going.
it's a similar question. What would be the benefit of using that credit? Like you just get to skip the first year required?
So I'll say in general, for using your IB transfer credits, they can use towards prep requirements. That can be really useful. You'll be automatically assessed for these, so you don't need to like decide whether or not you have them or not. Let's say you have something and it can be used towards program requirements, it might mean that you can skip right ahead. What I'll say is that for many students, they plan to still take the U of T courses because you can get transfer credit for both your IB credit and for the U of T credit. Unlike in other areas where you have an exclusion, you can actually get credit for both. So it can help you meet those 20 credits. What I'll say is for most students, they want the preparation, if they're gonna especially continue in a specific area of taking the university level course to know they can succeed in upper year courses. But again, every student's a little bit different. For example, like if you're like, okay, I don't actually want to take, like maybe you have something that's a BR4. And I don't actually want to take another, biology or environmental class, then you know that you're meeting that breadth requirement without having to do anything else in that area. So in most cases, they are a benefit to students, because it helps you meet that 20 credits quicker and gives you a little bit more breathing room, especially later in your degree, if you ever need to drop a course or if something happens to give you so that it doesn't derail you by a year, basically, if you end up making a change to your course schedule. Okay, so we're coming straight up at time. What I will say is if any of you have any other questions, I will be in the main room for the next session. Feel free to direct message me, or of course you can email me or email the registrar's office, and we can always get your questions answered. If you haven't, I really recommend logging into Purpose 101. A lot of these questions will be answered there as well. There's going to be modules released on an ongoing basis to help you set yourself up for success come September. Okay, so I'll ask everyone to go back to the main breakout room. There is going to be a short break, and then Money Matters is going to begin at 12:25, and we will see you all there.